My name is Joanne Raymond. I'm from Allentown, Pennsylvania. The first issue that I had where my weight really, it hit home that other people saw me as overweight. I was at a Birchmount track and field meet. I was in seventh grade, I believe. And I heard boys behind us talking, and he said, "Oh, the one in the middle is cute, but she's got a fat rear end." I got to tell you, that hit me like a ton of bricks. At that age, when you're so focused on your looks and everything, and I was athletic, I thought fit, but to hear someone actually say that I had a fat rear end, that really, really hurt me. So that started me on this roller coaster of, okay, I'll just lose 10 pounds. I was trying to live up to, I guess, what I thought that one guy's ideal was of fit or a nice body or whatever. And it's just, oh my goodness, if I could find him and tell him what he did to my life. And I know it's all about personal responsibility, but I think if I had just been happy with my body the way it was, I never would have ended up the way I did. The first big amount of weight I lost, I had got quite big before I got married the first time when I was 19. And I lost 50 pounds right before I got married because I wanted to fit into a reasonable sized wedding dress. That was the 50-pound one was the first loss, and I would have been 19. After I got married at 19, I had my kids pretty close together. I had two kids by the time I was 23, and I packed it on the weight. I mean, I was a stay-at-home mother and wasn't very active and just was eating because I was stressed, and it's overwhelming, you know, when you're that young. And I had moved out of the city. I lived in Toronto and moved to Durham region in a really rural area. Had no car. I was stress eating, definitely. So I believe my son was 2 or 3. I think it was 93. The first time I lost 117 pounds was the first huge weight loss. And I don't know about you, but when you lose that much weight, you just think, oh, I'm never gonna gain it back again. You think you're infallible and you've learned so much, but it really doesn't take much. Little habits start creeping back in. I started stress eating again, or I started getting overconfident, like, oh, now I can eat whatever I want. And, you know, I gained 5 and then 10 and then 20 and then 30. And the next thing you knew, had gained it all back and then some. Now it was over a span of 2 or 3 years, but I started gaining it back instantly because I started going back to old habits and, oh, I can eat that cake now that I'm at my goal weight. You know, that's what it became about. All the things that I had deprived myself of now became what I was after. You have to figure everything out on your own. Nobody can tell you anything. You have to learn it yourself. And yes, it's usually the hard way, by successes and failures and then another failure and another. And you learn a little bit every time. With me, I had lost the 117 the first time, gained it all back. The first time was all about food. I'm not even sure I exercised at all, to be honest with you. I don't like exercise. The second time, I thought, I need to eat. I don't like starving. So I would eat a little bit more and I would exercise like crazy. The second time around, I was no more successful. I gained it all back again because I would want a piece of cake and I would have it, but that meant I had to do, you know, an hour on my exercise bike or an elliptical machine or ski machine or whatever I had going at the time. And it got to the point where I was like addicted to exercise or obsessive or whatever you want to call it, because I was paying for all these treats that I had. You can't do that either. Everything I did, I was kind of doing wrong. You know what I mean? And by the third and fourth time, I had learned what I did right. And that's what I stuck with. That's why it's working this time. The second time I lost 122, a little bit more than I lost the first time. And like I said, I was obsessively exercising, just ridiculous. And I was also, the second time I was eating more fat and just what I consider better food, more palatable food. The first time it was all about chicken breast and salad. And I'm sorry, you can do that for a short amount of time, but I love food. I like to eat. So the second time I put in my cakes and cookies and things like that. And I'm sure the health part of it was sacrificing. because I figured it would be more sustainable if I had my junk food. Okay, I don't want to cry, but really this was the hardest part about gaining and losing. I felt like such a disappointment, of course to myself, but to other people, because I wouldn't see family for several months, and then I would see them and I would hear the whispers, and I would hear them talking about me. Oh, see, I told you she gained it back. That emotional toll was just the worst, and never mind beating myself up. I went through pretty bad depression when I gained the weight back, because now it wasn't just, oh, I'm a heavy person and you kind of resign yourself. Now I've been there. I've seen what it's like to feel good, to look good, to go into a store and actually buy a pair of pants that look fabulous on me. And I gave that up because of my own weakness. So it was humiliating seeing people who had, the last time they saw me, I was thin, and the whispers and beating myself up. This time around, even if I slip, and I've slipped, I will admit it, not to the point where I've gained it all back, but I've gained 30 pounds. And I don't beat myself up. I call myself Joe. You'll get back on the horse when you're ready. And so I try and just minimize the damage. I never stop exercising. I never stop counting my calories. So even when there's a day where I've had 3,000 or 4,000 calories, every single calorie gets logged in my FitnessPal, I still remain accountable. To me, that's the biggest thing, because then I know I'm not done. I tripped and I'm just waiting till I can get back up. And I have done that a few times, but knock on wood, I've been able to get back on track, because I do not call myself names anymore. I am human, and I've forgiven myself for so many years of mistakes. And to me, that's the biggest thing that makes me successful, is not beating myself up when I make a mistake. I had some health problems as I got into my 40s. I had a headache almost every day of my life. I wasn't living life anymore. I was just existing, and it really made me angry. And I went to several doctors, and I'm, trying to find someone to tell me what's wrong with me. Well, it's really, really eye-opening when the doctor says, it's your weight. There's nothing wrong with you. The only thing that's wrong with you is your weight. You don't exercise, you don't eat right, you could have a stroke or a heart attack at any time. And I'm just sitting there wanting to cry, like, oh my goodness, someone told me it's my fault. Not that I didn't know it in my mind, but to hear that doctor be so brutally honest with me was difficult. My daughter had been married for a few years, and eventually I was hoping to become a grandmother. I thought to myself, I could die before I ever become a grandmother, and who would I have to blame? Me. So suddenly I became really accountable for my actions over the last 20, 30 years. And my motivation now was to live. In all honesty, I'm trying not to be dramatic, but I thought, I want to live a life that is worth living, not just existing, where I get up in the morning and say, how bad a headache am I going to have today? Or how much are my knees going to hurt? Or it was ridiculous having so many clothes in my closet, ranging in size from 7 to 24. And I still had nothing to wear because everything looked awful on me. I hated my life, to be honest with you. And I decided, I'm going to try one more time. And I said to myself at that time, this is it. I will not do this again. So it's either going to work or I give up. And I think that kind of really motivated me to keep going, even when it was difficult. That this is it. This is my last and final attempt to do this. This third time, I've kind of done both. Now I exercise 15 minutes a day, sometimes half an hour, because it's good for me, not because I'm paying for any treat or anything. And now what I do is I eat, I would say healthy 90% of the time, and I have my treats on the weekend. My husband and I will have waffles on the weekend because I love waffles and I'm not giving them up. So I consider most of what I do as just, this is my healthy lifestyle. and I treat myself and reward myself and enjoy life. So now it's a balance, and it's not about punishment or reward. Now it's just, this is my life and I have to live this the rest of my life. Where before I would set these goals, I have to get to this weight, and okay, oh, now I'm done. There's no such thing as done. That's the way I have to look at it now. This is lifelong. The key to success is feeling like you're worth it. Because so much, I think, of obesity is feeling bad about yourself. Whether the obesity made you feel bad about yourself or you felt bad about yourself and that helped you become obese. I think the depression and the whole mental health angle of it is a lot of why there is an obesity epidemic. The kids' childhood, I regret. I missed out on 3/4 of it because I was this 240, 250 pound person. I couldn't play with them. I would hide from pictures. So now I've deprived them of pictures of me when they were little, and I'm angry at myself. So yes, like I said, going up and down is humiliating. And, you know, my sister and other people would say to me, oh, that's not good for you. Like, duh, I didn't know that, you know. It's kind of annoying when people tell you things. It's not like you do it on purpose. It's not like anyone says, hey, I think I'll be fat. Nobody wants to have a life that's difficult, that's painful, that's, you know, walking up a flight of stairs, I would be huffing and puffing by the time I got to the top, and I'd be looking around like, who's looking at me? It's embarrassing to be big. I would never swim. I would sweat because I'd be wearing long pants in the summer because I wouldn't be caught dead in shorts. It's a difficult life, and nobody would choose it. I looked at different ways of doing it that were lifelong sustainable. That's the way I did this whole thing. I like my treats, so I researched different, keto and paleo and all these different kinds of things. And I never stuck on one. I took the palatable, enjoyable parts of every single diet that I looked up, and I made it work for me. Yes, you have, listen to people who've done it before, but do what works for you. Because I could sit here and tell you exactly what I did, and trust me, I was in People magazine, I was on Good Morning America. I had all kinds of people contacting me, and they wanted me to tell them what to do. I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you what I did, and I suggest you figure out what works for you. I shared recipes. I shared my little tricks that if I knew I was going out, to a faculty dinner with my husband, I knew I was going to eat or drink wine or whatever. So in the morning, I would make sure my breakfast was healthier, and the day before, maybe I would cut back a little bit. I would prepare for things that I knew were triggers to overeat or, Thanksgiving or whatever. You have to live your life knowing that there are things around you that are bad for you, but you just make it work. Like I said, I don't beat myself up anymore. I like looking for quotes and things like that on Facebook or Pinterest or whatever. And the ones that say, nothing was a failure. It's only a failure if you don't learn something. I mean, I didn't make that up, but that's the way I view every time I've done it and failed. Okay. Yes, you could call it a failure. It's a learning experience. That's how I look at everything now. What did I do? And I pick it apart. I think, what did I do last time that messed me up, that derailed me? Was I depriving myself? Yes. Was I focused too much on short term, just getting into that dress for the wedding, or just little things? I figured out what I did wrong, and I got rid of them or fixed them or tailored them more to a sustainable lifestyle. Everything I did was a learning experience. I always say to my husband, oh, I'm not eating that, it's too expensive. I don't mean money. I mean, is something worth the 600 calories? Like, I cook chicken thighs with the skin on and I put gravy on them. That's once a month we have that, and I do them in the oven. That is worth it to me. It's worth the calories. It's about 600 calories for what I eat, but it's worth it. I ask myself, whether you look at it as money or time in your life, however you want to look at it, it's something you're giving up to have that treat. And In the beginning, yes, I would joke about it being money. And some things were just too expensive, so I gave them up completely. Honestly, I love my wine, but that was something that was easy to give up. My waffles, I'm not giving up. I will spend those calories every weekend to have my waffles. Again, when I was younger, you feel like you're immortal. Oh, I'm not going to die, You don't think that what you're doing now affects you down the road. You just don't see it. You see it as you get older, that now I am mortal. Now everything that I put in my mouth is shortening my life. Look at all the things that can go wrong if you don't start taking care of your body. And I used to joke with people that work with me, oh, you're so strict. Or I said, no, I look at it as, would you put sugar in your gas tank of your car? Well, no. Well, why not? Well, I don't want to wreck my car. Well, you get one body. I can go buy a new car if I mess up my car. I have this one body, and it has to last my whole lifetime. So, like I said, it took me a long time to figure it out, but what's it worth to take care of this one body that I have? It initially started, my local paper had a little thing in it. I forget, I think it was called Life Changers or something like that. And I was reading the paper at work one day, and it said, have you lost a lot of weight? Have you quit smoking? Have you done something that's a real life-changing experience that you're happy you did? Tell us a story and send it in, and we might put it in the paper. So I did. And she contacted me. My weight loss story was in the paper. She actually came to my house. I cooked a meal for her. Well, she didn't eat it, but she watched me make it. It was a People editor saw that, or her assistant or somebody saw that story in the local paper. And at that time I had zero social media. I wasn't on Facebook. I wasn't on anything. So she actually tracked me down through my husband at work. And it said something in his write-up. I guess she searched my name, and my name came up as his wife. So she contacted him and said, sorry to bother you, but is your wife, Joanne Raymond, the one who lost a lot of weight? And he said, yes, it is. So that's how they found me. And I'll be honest, when she first contacted me, you think it's a scam. I mean, come on, people's gonna want my story. But once we talked and she said, I'll run this by my producer or whoever it was she had to run it by, but we're really interested in you. I said to her, if my story can motivate someone who was in the same boat that I'm in, oh, I'm too old now to do it. Oh, why should I even bother? I knew what it felt like to feel like that. And I thought, if I can motivate someone to say, oh, maybe I'm not too old. No, this chick did it. Okay. If I can motivate someone to try, to see that someone of my age, and I was 44 when I did this time around, which isn't that old. I'm looking at 53 now, and that's not that old. But when you're that age and you've been doing it since you were 13, you really feel like I'm too old to do this again. So the main goal was to try to be a role model for people, or at least a motivator, or to show someone that you can do it. You just have to keep trying and never give up. When I was in my early teens, I did long distance running and track and field and things like that. I look at pictures now and I was muscular. My legs were very muscular, but I can see how people would have thought I had bigger thighs because it was muscle. But I never thought of myself as fat. Apparently other people did. But now I look at it as, I'm toned. I'm thinner now than I was. I'm obviously not muscular. It's harder to maintain the musculature when you're my age, but I'm definitely I like my little muscles. And I feel like I look good in my pants. And like you said, it wasn't about how I looked this time. It was about being healthy. And yes, the byproduct is now I look great. But I think when you shift the focus and now it isn't about what I look like, it takes a little bit of the pressure off. So now I don't focus on that, and it makes it easier. It's just about staying healthy now and eating right. I feel fit. I I'm in a good size and I feel healthy. That's the main thing with me. And I think that the biggest difference, that I'm actually successful this time. I'm not looking at it from an aesthetics standpoint, where when you're in your 20s, 30s, it's all about fitting into jeans for a wedding or some stupid thing. So you get to your goal and then, oh, boom, now I can eat everything I've deprived myself of for the last 2 months. So no wonder I was not successful, but you don't see it when you're so immersed in it. You see it later when you feel, okay, now I feel mortal. Now I know I'm not going to die tomorrow, but now I'm looking at the second half of my life, and now it's about living longer and, enjoying my life.